Hello! So, I already posted a video about this, but I'm entering some of my things in my local county fair. And I really want to enter my colorwork tapestry knits in the fair, but I feel like my previous attempts do not reflect how I'm knitting nowadays. And so I'm a little hesitant to enter my old projects in this year's fair. I just don't think they would do as well. I knit this over a year ago, which time flies. I can't believe that it's been over a year since I've been making videos about blocking these things. Like, it's that video, blocking this poorly, is by far my #1 most viewed video that I have on YouTube and on TikTok. And so there are lots of mistakes in this. I blocked it poorly, but then also just my tension isn't great. I didn't carry over my floats in some areas. So this, I just feel like, no longer represents my best work. And I feel like I've improved so much since I've started knitting, especially in this style. So I think I'm gonna re-knit it. I only have a week until the county fair, and I think I can get it done in time. This took me about 3 days of like large chunks of uninterrupted time. So I think in a week, I should be able to go ahead, knit it, block it, and then get it on a new rod, because right now I just have these on tiny little dowels on the top and the bottom. Not sure I love that. And so I think I'm gonna re-knit it, and it'll be really interesting to see kind of how I've improved, what kind of things are different. And so I'm hoping to go ahead and re-knit this. As I re-knit this, I'm going to use the exact same materials as I did last time. The only difference is that I'm going to be using a different rod at the top for presentation. But in terms of like the actual knit, I plan on using the same needles, I plan on using the same acrylic yarns, and the same pattern. Hopefully, all in all, we'll be able to look at it and see truly how much I've improved on my knitting, whether it's through my tension, through my color work, seeing all of the different things. I'm very interested to see how much of a difference there will be. If I don't finish it in time, it's not the end of the world, because then I'll just enter this piece in the county fair, but I do want to enter something that is a better quality. I already have all of my knitting needles and yarn and everything here, so I don't need to go and buy any more materials. So I think the next thing is just to jump in and start knitting. Hi, Editor Lauren here. I just realized that I never said where I find my patterns, and I find those at antiquepatternlibrary.org, and there are a couple books that I like to use. They're in French, but the grids are all there, and they're antique French lace making patterns, actually. You can also find these grids on Pinterest if you look really hard, but that is where I find all of my patterns for any of my tapestry knits. I just started this project, got about that far in, realized I messed up the first row. It's off to a really great start. I accidentally started knitting with my tail. Not the yarn attached to the skein, but the tail. So have to go back and undo all of these stitches already. Row 1. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, I really just power ran through a lot of it. I started it around 10 last night, and it is now 1 o'clock the next day, and I've gotten almost all the way done with this project. Some things that I've changed since the last time I worked on it. I have added 5 stitches of a border on each side that are knit to help with the curling to make it easier to block later. I have also gone through and I've learned a new thing on making prettier edges, so that way they're not all jagged, so it leaves a nicer finish. I knit a couple rows at the bottom as well, that way there is more room for when I add tassels this time, because that's something I'm adding. Yeah, overall, my color work is way neater. This is where I had to add on more yarn. I've gone through and anchored my floats at least every 5, if not less, especially in these parts where there's more than 5 stitches. So those are all anchored down at the bottom, carrying my yarn over. So it's a lot neater on the back than my other one. The other one was kind of a hot mess. overall, I'm really happy with it. My tension is a lot more even than the last one. Oh my goodness. So far I'm saying it's going really well. I'm really excited to see how this goes as I continue on with it. My hands are starting to cramp because I've been knitting so much within the last day. So I might have to go let my hands take a break because this knuckle right here is getting stuck a little bit. So we'll figure that out. But this was my original project. I did not weave in any of my floats with the longer stitches, which caused some problems with my tension early on. Overall, it's pretty fine. This long float, I did go through an anchor up here because it spanned the entire work. Don't know what I was thinking with that. I have another one up here that's the same length that just kind of floats down, and I never weaved in the ends of my project. I just kind of was hoping that they would hide as I hung this. I currently have this on just like a little dowel, and I'm really hoping to find something that's a little nicer for this next project as I present it in the county fair. But for now, worst case scenario, I have more of these dowels. If I don't find something I like, I'm just gonna stick with these. But this is the old project, and this is the new one so far. I did go down a needle size, so the proportions are a little different. I am happy though with the smaller stitches. I think it looks really nice. I did this one with a size US 8 needle, with this one with the size US 9 needle. And so next up, I'm going to go ahead and start blocking. Now, I've learned a lot since I blocked this one way back a year ago, and so it's time to put in my new knowledge into use. This old one, as you can see, especially with the tension, there's actually a spot here where this line of stitching actually like sticks out, which is why I really wanted to have a new projects to enter in the fair. I'm just a lot more happy with how this one has turned out so far, especially since I don't know if you can see, it really curves. This is not a straight line, and no matter what I do, I've tried reblocking it, can't get this to be a straight line. So the hope is for this one, having this edging on the side here will really help with that to make it so this is straighter and less noticeable. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to first wet block it with new techniques, see if that works. I have a video on blocking that I've posted over a year ago. A lot of people say I did it wrong. I'm going to take the suggestions of the comments and apply it to this and see if I can get a better outcome with wet blocking. Hopefully I will. Okay, it's all pinned, and I'm going to leave it to dry for 24 hours, and we will see how it's looking when I come back tomorrow. I used all of the pins that I own. I have no more pins, so hopefully this is enough. I especially paid attention to the border and the bottom to help with curling. We're trying our best. So hopefully wet blocking turns out all right. I think you can see though that it looks really nice, especially without all the curling at the bottom. And I really like the border that I added this time. So excited to see how it'll turn out tomorrow. The air circulation in my apartment isn't great. It's the next morning and it's still pretty damp. So I've taken out the big guns and we now have a fan blowing air directly on this to help it dry a little bit. I'm also kind of lifting it up away from the plastic in hopes that that will help kind of get some air circulation underneath it, because it should be dry by now, but you know, I still have quite a few hours before the 24-hour mark, but with the fan blowing directly on it, I think that's going to help a lot. So we'll see how this works. Still got a few hours left. It's looking really good. I did pull back some of the pins and it bounced back quite a bit, so the wet blocking might not work. I might have to go ahead and steam block it, in which case I'm gonna try to steam block it while it's pinned. So I'm gonna give it some more time and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I've taken out all of the pins. It looks amazing. This time wet blocking was definitely a lot more successful than last time I did it. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and weave in the ends, and then also I'm going to add the fringe. I have to watch a YouTube video on how to add the fringe. I'm going to link below the tutorial that I watch, but I'm excited to do that. Have more yarn here to add for the fringe. I'm thinking gonna add probably just like this much. That's probably about 2-3 inches at the bottom. And then I have a couple different rods coming. I ordered them online. They should be coming later today. That way I can have different things to try out, to make this part up here just a little more sophisticated rather than the wooden dowel. If they don't work out, then I will go with the wooden dowel. But that's what's next up. Super excited, really happy with how this turned out. Oh, it looks so good. I'm very excited. So, weaving in the ends, fringe. Okay, so as I've been weaving in the ends and playing around, this edge has started to curl a lot more. And so what I'm gonna end up doing is putting the tassels on, and then hopefully that'll weigh it down. If not, then I'll go ahead and then use the iron to try to steam it into place. This edge has been fine. I'm not so worried about this one because this will be attached to the rod, and between being attached to the rod and having the weight of it, it should even out. So I'm not worried about the curling at the top. I am worried about the curling at the bottom. So hopefully the tassels will straighten that out. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and use some steam. The fringes have really helped with the curling, so I don't think that I'm going to have to iron, which I'm really excited about. I currently have 3 pieces of yarn equaling in 6 once they're folded over along each, and I'm putting them every 3 stitches. I thought that was just a nice way to separate them all. So what I have been doing is taking a piece of cardboard that I cut out. I didn't actually measure this. I think it's like 7-8 inches, and then going around and just cutting off however many I need. At this end, and then also clipping up here. This gives me 4 pieces. I just put one to the side. I've been doing them in larger batches, but for this I'm just a small one. I go ahead, fold it in half, making sure that I keep a hold of this hook. You don't need a crochet hook for this, but it is easier. I go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, and this is where I'm going to end up putting my hook. If I could find it. There we go. And then I take that halfway loop, thread it around, bring it through, and then pull it through just enough that I can get my fingers in here. I'm able to hold on and just do a slip stitch for this. These are just decorative, so if you really like needed to, you could very easily undo these. But that is how I've been doing the tassels. When I'm all done, I'm gonna go ahead and trim them all to be the same length because they're a little off right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. Okay, I have all of the fringes done. I love how it looks. I'm actually going to wait to trim them until I can get the hanger on. That way I can see proportionally how it's gonna look on a wall. So the hanger is coming tonight. I'm gonna put that on and then basically it's all done. I am so excited. I love how it's turned out. Definitely excited to enter this in the county fair. I'm filming this after the county fair because I completed it in time. I was able to turn in this project in time for the county fair, and I'm so happy that I was able to meet that deadline because this project turned out a million times better than the other one. At first glance, you might not be able to see much of a difference because it's the same pattern, it has the same techniques used, but I did a lot of things different for this. I'm really happy that I went ahead and did this knit border along the edge. I think it really helped with the curling and made it so that there was a straight edge here. I also learned a new stitch in order to help create this nice clean edge that's flat and it doesn't have any bumps. I think that adds a lot to the project. I also went ahead and added the tassels. Super happy that I did because I think it adds a little bit more to this piece as a wall hanging. And overall, my floats are just so much more anchored, so much more secured. I made sure to catch them every 4 to 5 stitches, and so there are no more loose threads on the back here, things that can get caught or things that really warp the tension. Very happy with how this turned out. This is a tag that I had to do for county fair. Ignore that. This rod is not perfect. It is too big. I was unable to find one that fit perfectly in such short notice. So overall, not great on the rod, but this project ended up being too wide with the addition of these borders on here to just put on the wooden dowels that I had before. So this was what worked. This is what came quickly. This is what we went with. All in all, there are some differences. For one thing, I blocked this with the iron directly on it. So the yarn is much flatter. It's definitely melted in some areas. While it looks a little more polished on camera, I will say it looks weird in person. And with that, it definitely has, like, it's not straight. It's kind of crooked. It kind of goes in a little bit of a curve as it goes along, whereas this one is pretty good about being like has 90-degree corners on here. It does curl a little bit, but once it's on an actual wall, then it has that to push against it, so that problem doesn't really happen once it's on a wall. Overall, I'm really happy that I went ahead and did this. I'm realizing hanging them up, I definitely used a smaller needle for this than I did for this one because this one is a much smaller project than this one is, even though I used the exact same skein of yarn. So that is an interesting detail that I'm not sure I noticed earlier. Maybe I said it earlier in the comments. It's been a wild week doing this. I'm not sure what I filmed and what I didn't film. But overall, you can definitely see the differences in this project, and I am really happy with how these turned out. I think that my new one definitely is more professional and it shows a lot more knitting technique in it versus this one where I kind of knew what I was doing, but not as much as I had hoped. So very happy that I took the time to reknit it. I think it really turned out well and I'm happy that I went with this project. I'm super excited for some of the other projects that I'm working on right now for future videos. I'm working on a couple other patterns from this same pattern library, the same book, and so looking forward to those projects. And I'm even adventuring into different types of grids with more color, definitely more complex knitting, and I'm looking forward to that as well. Also making more sewing projects, definitely working on a big one right now that's taking a lot more time than anticipated. Thought it was going to be like a week and done type of project, but we're on week 3 and it's still very much in the works. So we'll see how long it takes for me to finish that sewing project before I can move on to any other projects. If you liked this video, please go ahead and subscribe. I'm making videos every other week right now. I really like making long form content, but you can also find videos of mine on TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest. I post on TikTok probably the most. Instagram, I'm trying to work into more stories, doing more still photos as well as the reels. But if you like this, go ahead and like and subscribe. Also comment, let me know what you thought about this, if you think that knitting it again was worth it, or if I should have just gone ahead and stuck with the original that I had done. Let me know your thoughts. I'm super interested to see what people thought about this. So thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you next time.